Well, hello, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us for this email marketing deep dive. The panelists are warmed up and ready, and I'll be bringing them on stage very, very soon. First off, though, for those of you who've just stumbled across this and aren't familiar with our podcast, this session is how we wrap up each of our months on the Keep Optimizing podcast, because each month we dive into a different marketing method. And strangely enough, this has been email marketing month. If you've not heard the podcast series, then just head to keepopt.com/email, where you will find all our marvelous email content. This webinar, though, is not about listening to a podcast. It's about getting your questions answered. So, top tip for everyone who's watching live: add your questions now. Do not wait until the last 3 or 4 minutes, because I guarantee you I will not have time to get our experts to answer your questions. So you're welcome to ask questions as we go, but if you've got one you're already thinking of, now is the time to submit it via the chat. Whichever platform you're watching on, that will feed through to me, and I will do my best to get a great answer out of our experts, which, given the lineup we've got today, shouldn't be that hard. So do bring along your questions. They can be big picture, they can be small picture. We're open to all your email marketing questions, and SMS as well, I should say. We incorporate SMS under email here for the time being. You will find that chat box on your screen, so just get that question asked, and I will submitted rather, and I will do my best to get it asked for you. Our sponsor of this month has been Omnisend, so it's brilliant. We've got Gabe from Omnisend joining us, and awesome to have them involved in this podcast too. Okay, who have we got? Who are my experts I've been telling you about? Oh, she says, reading off the script and not looking at her slides. So back to the slides. I also need to tell you about the event we're currently running. Overstocks and excess stock is a huge issue for many of you, I know, right now. We are doing a video training series, a video thought series, which has been going live over the last couple of weeks. If that's a problem for you and you want help on how to avoid overstocks and how to deal with your overstocks to maximize profit, improve cash flow, improve your marketing messaging, then do go and get yourself signed up for free. That's at ecmp.info/summit to get your hands on all of that. Right. Chloe's promo method mentioned that she almost forgot to do complete. Who are our guests in this session? Well, I've already mentioned Gabe from Omnisend, and he will be introducing himself in a second or two. But I need to tell you that you can get special offer for Keep Optimizing listeners. You can get 30% off Omnisend for your first 3 months, not just a 1 month, 3 months right now, but only if you visit get.omnisend.com/keep-optimizing. We also have Kerri McDonald from The Greenhouse with us, and Kerri is saying that you can upgrade your emails with the best email and SMS partner for e-commerce brands. Find out more about how Kerri can help you. She's a hands-on email marketing consultant and SMS as well. You can find her details at www.growwithgreenhouse.com. And we also have Komal Helyer, who's a fractional CMO, used to be running the marketing for Pure 360. And you can connect with Komal at komalhelyer.com. And then I'm your host. But you kind of probably worked that out by now, so we'll skip over me. So that means it's time for me to hide the slides and bring up our brilliant guests, because they are the ones with the email marketing know-how. They are the ones who are going to help you answer your questions. So again, do submit your questions round about now. Hello, guys. Thank you all for joining us for this. It's great to have you all here.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Let's do the intros. Gabe, we'll start with you. Please let everyone know a little bit more about you and how you can help them.
Perfect. My name is Gabe Macaluso. I am the Director of Customer Success here at Omnisend. I've been in this role for a little over 3 years now. Prior to that, I was at Bronto, which is no more, but definitely laid the groundwork for a lot of people in email, both on the technology side and career-wise. So worked with a number of internet retailers, top 1,000 brands, and have helped scale brands from 5,000 contacts to well north of 1 million contacts. So have a lot of knowledge up in this noggin, and I'm excited to share it with you all today.
That's it, everyone. Our aim is to tap into Gabe's noggin and the rest of our panelists' noggin to get some great advice. Kerri, let's come to you next, please.
Yes. My name is Kerri McDonald. I am the co-founder and account director at The Greenhouse. We are an email and SMS marketing agency for e-commerce brands. Right now, we're definitely shining our skills in the health and beauty industries and food and beverage industries and apparel and accessory industries. So that's, kind of the three main industries that we love working with. My background was at an e-commerce company. So I've started with them as a graphic designer and then moved up to be their marketing director and helped them grow to 8 figures, overseeing all their agencies, as well as doing the email and the SMS programs on my own. And then after a few years, just wanted my own challenge and to just dive fully into email and SMS for different brands. So we started The Greenhouse, my co-founder and I, and have worked with over 30 brands in the last 2 years. So we have lots of insights into a lot of different accounts and lots of things to share today.
Excellent. Another noggin to tap into. Komal, last but definitely not least, please tell us a bit more about yourself.
Loving these noggins. Great noggins. Hi, everyone. I'm Komal Helyer. I'm a fractional CMO. I was VP of Marketing at Pure 360. I work with brands, businesses, B2B SaaS businesses, agencies, helping them with their growth strategies. I am probably most importantly chair of the DMA Email Council, and we're an organization that helps really build the innovation and the best practices within the UK email marketing industry. And I'm looking forward to sharing all my insights. I've been working in email for over 20 years now, so looking forward to sharing with you. And quite interestingly, I'm one of my clients, I'm working on, I would say, the light side, probably been on the dark side for a long time. I'm working with an email, an e-commerce startup, beauty tech business that is venture backed. And I'm currently trying to put together all the tech stack, all the things that I've been selling over the years. And I'm putting all the tech stack together and learning from the other side. So that's some great insights for MarTech businesses as well.
I feel like if we turned email marketing experts into a game of top trumps, I'm not sure which of the three of yours cards I would most like to have in my hand. You know how, like, in every top trumps pack, there's the card that just beats everyone else. I'm like, I think I want all three of you, and then I'm guaranteed a win. You know, but that's well, fundamentally that's the point of what we do here on this podcast. Right, get your questions in if you've got them. If you just want to tune in and watch, that's totally fine. I've got plenty of questions I can ask them. But if you do want your own questions asked, then get those submitted to me via the chat function wherever it is you're watching. It'll be somewhere near you, hopefully. We have had a question submitted in advance from Alex Steele, I think that's the right way to pronounce it, who was got in contact with me on Twitter. And Alex asks, what's the most common email marketing challenge you've encountered in your experience? And I feel I should give you each about 2 minutes just to tally it up, because you've all been in e-commerce and email for so long. Who fancies going first on this one, though? What's the most common email marketing challenge you've encountered in your experience? I love it. No takers at all. Komal, I think you started talking there, so we'll come to you first.
Yeah, I would many email marketing. I guess has got layers. What people don't understand is the layers of complexities. To do it really well, there are layers of complexities, and I think marketers in general don't really understand that. But I think probably one of the biggest challenges, and when I worked on the MarTech side, and even as I'm now on the other side, it's just really helping marketers use the tech in the best way that they can, to take that strategy and to then apply it to something that's really executable and well measured. I think that's probably one of the biggest challenges that marketers have, but also one of the biggest challenges that MarTech businesses have, and how to get their customers and their clients to better use the tools that they've got, because it can be really complex. And I think, so taking that strategy of the tech and putting it together and really being able to deliver great email marketing, I think is probably one of the reasons why we don't see great email marketing, because those two are just jarring slightly. So I'd say one of the biggest challenges.
I think the biggest thing which separates across the whole of e-commerce and the whole of digital marketing, the best performers, the real winners from the also-rans, is taking that massive list of things you could do and working out what the one thing is you should do right now. And I think the layers of email is such a space where people get distracted by one layer and forget they need to, like, you get layer 1 to level 1, and you go and work on layer 2 to level 1 and layer 3 to level 1. You don't take layer 1 to level 5 and then go and work on the others. You have to do this kind of balancing act. So I love that answer, Komal. Thank you. Kerri, you're nodding away, so I'm guessing you've done your tally chart and you know what your answer to this one is this epic question. So for you, what's the most common email marketing challenge you've encountered?
I think if I could sum up the most common challenge in one sentence, it would probably be that most people who are managing email accounts just don't have enough knowledge or experience. So I've audited probably 100 e-com accounts for email marketing over the past 2 years. And just generally speaking, they're not really ran by email people who really have experience in the email field. And like Komal and you said, like, there are so many layers, you have to get so many things right, like list growth, segmenting, the creative, the copy, the design, then analyzing the results, the send time, like there's so much that goes into it. And so if, you have, it's funny because most brands wouldn't spend a lot of money on ads unless they were very confident that they had a very competent ads person on their team or running their ads. And yet I see so many people just winging the email channel, which is very interesting because it doesn't cost anything really to send an email. It's not like an ad where it costs to run it, but the cost of doing it wrong could be quite large on the other end and scaring people away from your brand and from the program. So it's a very loaded question, but I'd say generally speaking, there's just too many people out there winging it and not going in deep in all the layers that they need to.
Yeah, totally get that. And I have to say, though, as someone who's probably done as many audits in Google ads as you've done in email, unfortunately, it's amazing how much money people spend with no idea how they're spending it. but I think it often comes down to putting the wrong person on it. Oh, you can write, so you can go and do our email. But you can wing it, I think, but you've got to have that lust for knowledge. You've got to want to come along to events like this and listen to these podcasts to upskill yourself. So I think another great answer. Thank you, Kerri. Gabe, what's your take?
Yeah, so I'm probably gonna. I was contemplating what I was gonna say, and so I think I'm gonna say deliverability because this is something that is so easily messed up. But if you can maintain it from the very beginning, it just sets you up for success. When we talk about those results. So there's all kinds of things we have to consider when we're looking at results of our email and like the conversations you have to have with someone like, listen, I get that your CEO or the owner of the company is like, email everybody all the time because when I send an email, I make more money. It can go down quickly, just like it plummets. I saw a tweet the other day that said, I love the fact that I can buy a t-shirt and then get 2 emails a day for the rest of my life. And it's like, that's not the mindset we want to have is brand and brand voice and sending these emails. So I think as we pull back those layers and understanding like, what are we doing well? It's like, it's better to do a few things really great than all the things poorly. And I think that kind of goes back to what Kerri and Komal were saying, where it's like, hey, like, I think the joke used to be like, hey, do you have a Facebook account? Yeah, great. You're in charge of social ads. Hey, have you ever sent an email before? Great. You're in charge of email marketing. And this evolution of knowledge of the people in these roles, because it does take intricacy. And it's like, there's so many resources out there and there's so many things that you can go and build and obviously come to events like this where we're going to talk to you about it. But like, this is years and years of just kind of street smarts that we've built up. That's like, yeah, we've all failed. We've all sent an oops email. We've all sent a broken link. We've all sent, to the wrong landing page. We've all been there. It happens. But until you go through that experience yourself, you're not really going to know unless you are working with people that actually have done it before. You can't just get in and send an email and be like, well, I hope this works. Sometimes it does. Don't get me wrong. Like we've all seen the strategies where it's like, hey, this is not going to work at all, and it works great. And then the email that you spent like hours on, like agonizing over, like this is the perfect subject line and this is the perfect content, and you send out the email and it just falls flat, and you're like, crap. Like, what do I do now? So I think deliverability in the sense of only send to people that actually engage with your messages. Like if someone's been on your list for 2 years, like you don't keep contacting them, just like get rid of the dead weight. So build that list smartly, make sure they know what they're opting into, and then communicate in alignment with what your brand is selling. And like, just keep it smart. Because once you get to the inbox, you can stay there. But if you mess that up, like it's a long, hard climb out of that spam folder.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
And
isn't it
I
just?
I would just love to, and also on deliverability, I would say that there are even more challenges from your ISP as well, your mailbox provider, in that I'll give an example. The other day I went to Space NK and spent a good amount of money. The next week I got a message within my Gmail saying, we've seen that you are not engaging with your Space NK emails. Would you like to unsubscribe? Now, because I'm an email marketer, I said, no way. I'm still engaged. I'm still seeing the emails. But there are so many different challenges for marketers. How do you even, keep up with that? Well, actually, you've got to get people engaged, and you've got to get people opening your emails above and beyond just selling something. So the fact that I spent loads of money offline is not really, but I'm not engaging with emails doesn't mean that I shouldn't be sent an email.
I think email's one of those places where you can, unless you actively try to discover the things you don't know, you are not gonna succeed. Like, you can blithely just keep sending stuff out, thinking you're doing fine, without ever anyone going, "Oh, by the way, you've totally missed something," because people won't respond. You have to. I think you have to put some effort into understanding and identifying the things you don't know, which I think fits in with all three of your answers of kind of like upskilling ourselves and knowledging us. Knowledging us? There's not even a word, Chloe. Like everything of the last 2 weeks, I'm blaming it on the head cold. So my next question to the three of you is one around, how do we find that help to get better? Should we, not my head cold, our email marketing, how do we find that help to get better? Do we hire someone to come and do an audit of our activity and tell us where the gaps are? Do we go and attend every session that our provider is running for us? Do we tune into events like this? Are there books we should read? Are there courses we should go on? How do we start upskilling ourselves for e-commerce email marketing in 2023? What's your take, and do you have any resources you would recommend? And self-recommendation is totally allowed, just to make that totally clear. Don't get too pitchy, but good resources we're totally up for having mentioned. Kerri, I'm sure you just moved closer to the microphone, so let's have your take.
Yeah, I am biased because I started an agency. However, I'll say, back when I was with the e-commerce company that I was with, I started taking over the email program because I was designing the emails. So like it was a natural progression, right? And it was one random day where I realized that their ESP was linked to the wrong domain. So all of their like triggered emails, their automations weren't firing properly for their proper e-commerce store. And once I brought that up, they're like, oh, perfect. You know about this. You can run the email program. And so, in that time, let's say 2 years, 3 years that it took me to really like learn and become an expert, it took me that long. I was terrified sending an email to 600,000 people every time I had to do it because, it got easier over time. But I would just say, I'm all for like hiring agencies and experts. Like if I'm going to start my own e-commerce brand, like I'm not running the ads myself. I'm not doing the social media myself. I'm not doing the branding myself because I know I'm not the expert in those things, but I am an email expert. So like I know I can do that myself, but every other channel I would outsource for and make sure that it's the right team that you're outsourcing to, that you feel comfortable, that they understand. I always find that people with agencies who have worked with a brand themselves on the back end always tend to perform a little bit better because they know what it's like to be on your side and what you're really going through on the inside. But it's all about finding the right team to work with. But I'm so biased in the agency world, especially when you're starting up. It's like the easiest, most cost-effective way to get experts to work with you. And not to mention that running an email program, like there's a lot of components involved. You need a copywriter, you need a designer, you need an implementer, and someone's going to read the reporting to you. So that's at least 3 different people right there. Now, of course, I've been all 3 of those people for a brand. So, you know, it happens. But I say you can get more bang for your buck working with an agency. Learn as much as you can from them. And then eventually you will want to take it in-house, you know, when you're bigger and you have the resources to hire all those people in-house and manage it in-house. But that's my hot take on it. I have an agency and I'm a fan of agencies.
I think one other thing which you also get with those multiple people and the simplicity of and the simple fact of the agency relationship is there's sign-off loops. You know, so errors creep in less often because there's more pairs of eyes on it. Even if you're a solopreneur, there's more pairs of eyes. There's more people going, hold on a minute, we've done sale for the last 3 weeks, or we've spoken about trousers for the last 3 weeks. Shall we change things up? So I get where you're coming from, Kerri. Gabe, your take.
Yeah. So, obviously we love working with agencies, so we refer people out all the time. But we also have, I think you should also talk to your software company. So like we have Academy at Omnisend. It's academy.omnisend.com, which is full of resources. And our whole goal is to just educate people on how to do email, SMS, omnichannel marketing well, because we want to see a success of the community as a whole. At Omnisend, we also provide customer success managers over, $400 a month if you're spending with us. And the idea of that customer success manager is not an agency. It's how are you using the software and are you using it efficiently? And, when we talk about like the businesses that are solopreneurs to 5, 6, 7 people, like if I'm an entrepreneur, I'm starting a brand because it's a passion project that kind of turned into a business. And so like my passion is like talking about my brand and getting excited about my brand and working with customers who are purchasing from my brand. I don't want to start a brand to be an email marketer. Like that's not my goal. So that's where like, people like Kerri come into play and Komal come into play where it's like, hey, they're the experts. They're going to tell you like, hey, this is what you need to do. And this is the order you need to do it in. So you don't have to figure it out. In terms of just like, if I was running my own brand, like who would I go to if I didn't know anything? I would look at, networking on LinkedIn, or like there's the Email Geek Slack channel that's super popular. It can be a little terrifying because it's sort of like this like group mentality, and you see like they're really noisy people who have lots of thoughts to share. They're passionately opinionated. And like, I know I've like shared an opinion that someone's disagreed with, and it's kind of like, okay, like, all right, we're just going to agree to disagree. So like, you never know what you're going to get, but you can kind of pick and choose, and you can navigate through that and go, okay, this does work for my brand. I'm going to discard that because I don't think that applies to what I'm doing here. But again, it's that whole discovery of what don't I know? And, even when I onboard my customer success managers here, they're like, how do you know all this stuff? And it's like experience. You just have to experience it. Like you don't know if a 5-part abandoned cart workflow is going to work for you unless you've implemented a 5-part abandoned cart workflow and compared it to what did a 3-part do. You just don't know what's going to work. Sometimes it works great. Other times it's like, what are you trying to do? Why are we dragging this out so far?
Yeah, there is kind of like that. I've seen so many people make an error by diving into a subject, getting really excited by following a person or a blog or a something, and then it's a lead generation piece and they're running an e-commerce business, or it's SEO for Shopify and they're on BigCommerce, and you're like, you need to find the right voices to listen to, which can be, can be challenging, but once you find the right voices, then you get distracted a lot less. Komal, your perspective on where great resources lie for helping us upskill.
We talked about this in our podcast, didn't we, Chloe?
We did.
Which you can watch on demand, listen to. That I totally agree with all the comments previously. We talked about leaning on your MarTech provider, but Chloe, you're right, because there is a lot of talk around, that there are biases and there are skews to information that you get from different providers. And I just think you need to understand, even if you're outsourcing your SEO, you're outsourcing your PPC, you need to understand the basic fundamentals. You need to go out there and do your research, and understand what to ask your agency for, understand where your skills lay and where they don't. But also fundamentally, you've got to understand your customer and your customer experience and the customer flow and the customer life cycle. All of these things, if you're really truly understanding those, then it's so much easier to then put together the information that you get from these resources and understand how to then apply it. But you're not short of data and research and content out there. It's just knowing where to go. But absolutely, if where your skills don't lie, an agency or a consultant is really important to help you steer. Your MarTech provider is there to give you free advice, but also take on some of those onboarding services that they provide, because it just sets you up as you're moving forward. Educate yourself and use as many resources as possible, and look outside email. You don't necessarily need to be looking inside the email channel to understand how to deliver great email marketing. Look at psychology of marketing, looking at various different the power of habit, nudging people. All these different things are so crucial to helping you devise an awesome email strategy.
I think that I love all your answers, because I think it's one of those areas where the most important thing is learn. Commit to learning, commit to getting better understanding. And I think the variety of approaches you've each outlined just goes to demonstrate how, whatever your learning style, whatever the principles of your business, whether you're someone who just wants to do it all yourself, or whether you're someone who loves to outsource and grow fast, there is a solution there for you. And I think that is the brilliant thing you've all just demonstrated, is there's lots and lots of ways to upskill your email, and the examples, the playbooks, the templates are out there to help you make improvements pretty fast these days. If you're watching the live stream and you've got some questions, now would be a great time to add them in, because we are going to start running out of time soon. But if you're just enjoying, there's a cat there. If you're just enjoying watching us, loving the cat noises, then that's totally fine too. My next question is a bit of a pace change, bit of a different angle. We are hearing, kind of one of the big underlying themes in e-commerce at the moment is the problems, let's put it that way, with Facebook ads. And how that easy acquisition channel has now dried up alongside the economic things and all the rest of it, which we're hearing at the top level. We're hearing a lot of noise from people like me about everyone's moving to retention, and you've got to work harder at getting in contact with your customers and building stronger relationships, which for me kind of flicks back to email. And I think it's one of the themes that's come out of our podcast episodes, is it's time to put some more effort into your email marketing. What I'm interested to know is, Are you guys, who are a bit closer to the end users than I am, are you seeing this happening? And are there any particularly interesting approaches you've seen people taking to a renewed focus on email marketing this year? And if you don't think there's been a renewed focus at all, feel free to say that. But you're also still totally welcome to share an idea. Gabe, you appear to like this question, so I'll come to you first on this
Well, I
one.
mean, obviously, like retention. I've been doing it for 10 years now, and it's been something that I feel like, especially being on the customer success account management side, like not only do I eat, live, and breathe retention, coaching people how to do email now successfully, like my whole job is about customer retention. So that's what we've always championed forever. And now it's like, oh, this is like exciting, and like people are excited about retention. And I think people are going back to like, okay, we've spent so much money for all these years, and we talked about it in our session about we've done all the work. So how do we go back through, and how do we dig through some of those old files we have? We've spent how much time creating all of this content in our social media? How do we repurpose that into email to continue that experience and to continue to engage with our users? And how do we go about it wisely, if you will, in terms of, we got someone to purchase one time. We've seen the trends for years that if someone comes back and buys a second time, the likelihood of them buying a third time and a fourth time exponentially goes up. So it was first like, okay, just get them in the door. We buy them one time. Great. Then it was like, okay, if we get them to buy a second time, that's even better. Now it's like, okay, what is this idea, this lifelong consumer? And that's really where we're going. And we kind of saw it with the advent of like Prime membership, right? Amazon was first. And, they always say the greatest form of flattery is to copy, right? So now we're starting to see this like membership sort of ideology come down into brands of all levels, really. No matter how big or how small you are, like people are going, hey, if you pay for this, and that starts building that loyalty where it's like, okay, I'm paying for this, I should use it kind of mentality. So I think we're seeing that, and that's really kind of an interesting retention focus. I think the other thing is people are going back. COVID kind of forced our hand into terms of like, okay, we don't have a brick and mortar location. People are online. How do we create that experience and that personal connection? And that really kind of started that ball rolling. And now we're seeing more and more creativity in our content in terms of, hey, we're selling this brand, but we're also selling this lifestyle, and we're selling this lifelong partnership as we go through this. And I think we talked about it on ours, or I've talked about it before, where it's like, you kind of have this like, I'm a dad, I've got 2 kids, and like, I've got my solo stove, and I have to buy Chubbies, and I have to buy a Weber grill or a Big Green Egg. Like you kind of have this like suburban dad kit, if you will, right? Like, and the coolers and all that stuff. So you have all these brands, and all those are connecting together now, and that's creating this story that we're following up. And as we grow, it's kind of like the Craftsman tool of old, right? Like your dad had Craftsman tools, you have Craftsman tools, and then you keep passing that down, even with the lifelong warranty. So all of that stuff is very interesting to kind of see how it's being applied to these new brands. And I could keep going on and on about. I was like, well, I could talk about millennials versus Gen Zers. I'm like, okay, this is getting way too into the weeds of things.
I mean, it's cool because, like you say, this is what you're doing all the time, is helping brands to embrace these things. Komal, your take on, is everyone now refocusing on their email, and what are the best things they're up to?
I don't know whether I have the real, answer to that. I think that, but I do have an answer, but I think that marketers are understanding that, marketing is a mix, right? And you got to get that mix right. But marketers are understanding that data is really crucial. So a lot of the narrative that I'm seeing is, stop spending money on pay-per-click, where, you could be driving data, and you could be collecting data, and data is absolutely key. But the bottom line is that email is part of a mix, and all the channels work together coherently. And if you can get them right and working together really well, then I think that there shouldn't be a refocus. I think email has its importance, as well as other channels having as much importance as possible. And I think, the social channels, great acquisition tools. And you're right. I think, these loyalty programs that we're seeing is because the tech is available. What I'm seeing is some at the lower end as a startup e-commerce brand, I'm seeing some amazing tech that's available for absolute startups with no budget, next to no budget, being able to deliver some great loyalty programs because the tech is there available to you. Now, do I know that the tech is available to me because I'm in the industry and I've been in e-commerce for a long time and I get the ecosystem? I'm not really sure, but I definitely think that although email has a strong focus, I think there are other channels that are just as important, that drive various different parts of the customer lifecycle. But I can tell you that from research and from DMA research, when we go out and ask consumers what channel do they prefer to receive marketing messages on, email is always at the top. And it has been over the years, and I'm sure it will be this year, and it continues to be so. And consumers love to get emails, but they want their emails to be personalized and they want them to be relevant and they want them to be right. They want you to understand who they are and so on. But that's where they want to see marketing messages. But I think every channel plays its role. It's about getting right for your brand. What is the right mix for you? But email is at the hub of it all.
Yeah, agreed. Kerri, your take on, are you seeing a renewed interest in email this year?
Yeah, not just email, but I'd say retention in general. Because I think what happened was there was a lot of brands that popped up, let's say over 2019, 2020, 2021. And I think, there's three main buckets as a brand that you need to be focusing on: acquisition, conversion, retention. And in the first, let's say, year to 2 years, you're really focused on the acquisition and conversion buckets, right? Like you're like, how many customers can we get for the first time? And, how can we best convert these people? What's going to make them want to buy this product? What's going to make them want to buy into our brand? And then, what happened when ads got really expensive, and, advertising getting trickier, everybody was like, okay, we've really nailed down and we did a lot with the acquisition and conversion buckets. Now we need to shift our focus more so to the retention buckets. And they're realizing, okay, if I can get, 100,000 customers, how do I make 50,000 of them come back? Right. So, from our side of things, we had a lot of brands reaching out, let's say midway through the year last year, towards the end of the year. So what we're seeing is that like ad agencies are seeing, and I'm speaking from an agency side now because I know a lot of them, is that ad agencies are finding, their kind of clients are downgrading their ad spend and their packages with them. But email and retention agencies are seeing their clients go up and increasing their efforts and new clients coming to them because brands are really like seeing the value of focusing on retention. And we spoke about it a little bit, Chloe, on our podcast, but with the whole R word that's going around in the US, and it's going to be very interesting on how, figuring out who you can retain during this time. And, somebody that's already bought from you is going to be more likely to buy again from you than to get a whole new customer who you're going to have to convince to spend X amount of dollars to buy into your product for the first time. And it's probably not a need for them at this time. So they'll probably forgo spending on it. I think definitely heading into this period, people are going to lean heavily on that and retention. The problem is that sometimes brands just think, hey, I could start a loyalty program now. Boom, I'm going to get customer retention, and it just, it doesn't work that way. Everything has to have an intention behind it. And I think like, a little nugget or a tip is like one of my favorite things to do, surveying customers, surveying your best customers, surveying your worst customers, surveying non-customers, and figuring out what's really driving them to make those purchases or not make those purchases, or what's going on in their life, or why do they buy, what else are they buying? To Gabe's point, the more you can figure out about your customers is going to be the way that you're going to retain them. And then you put that wherever you feel like it belongs for your brand. Is a subscription right? Is a membership right? Is a loyalty program right? What flows do I need in email? All the things. I think Komal said it, just a deep understanding of the customer.
Yeah, and I love that you've just given us a little nugget of doing those customer surveys, because we've got about 4 minutes left. So I thought I would come to each of you for if you were in charge of email marketing in a D2C brand at the moment who's looking to improve their email marketing to drive better results for the rest of the year, where would you point them to start? You can think of this as your last top tip. You can go left field, you can go straight down the line. I don't mind, but you can't talk for more than a minute or we're going to run out of time. Komal, let's come to you first, then we'll come to Kerri, and then we'll finish off with Gabe.
Well, I'm doing this right now. Mapping out the customer journey, starting at welcome. And I'm devising different welcome programs where different points of entry, and a really good nudge campaign that is based on more than just purchasing. So it's how do I provide value to that consumer so that they're opening that email day in, day out, or however often I'm sending it, and above and beyond just saying, here's another discount. I'm trying to think about how can I be useful and valuable to that customer before they've purchased, after they've purchased, and mapping out that customer journey.
And definitely avoiding saying you don't you don't like us anymore email after they've just spent a lot of money in their physical store. Kerri, your I guess bonus nugget, as you've already given us the customer surveys one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think my top would be creative. I think you can do a lot with flows, automations, segmenting, all the things, but getting the creative right I think has a better return on investment than almost anything out there, because it's number one, like understanding your customers and what speaks to them, but visually and copy wise, like getting that creative right is so important. And so, that's like the number one thing that helps our brands like see an increase. They come to us with like terrible looking emails, or like, text formatted, or they're just using templates from the email provider. And then we give them really nicely designed emails that really speak to what their customers want, that really visually stand out amongst the competitors. And like immediately there's an ROI, because it's like they've just been up leveled, and the customer notices that and feels spoken to and feels like, oh, this is a brand that I want to buy from. This is a product that I need, just because the way it was displayed. And so I think creative is like the first place that I like to start.
Oh, sorry, muting myself. I'm going to blame the cold again. Lovely answer. Thank you, Kerri. Gabe, your final tip.
So I think there's kind of a consensus here, and I'll try to sum this up, because I think both what Komal and Kerri said makes a ton of sense. And what I was going to say was, and I kind of mentioned this when we chatted, was like, don't forget to have fun. I mean, that's like why we're all here to do this. And like, you can have a lot of fun with that brand voice. So when you think about your creative and what you're doing to kind of present your brand, like, does it align with your actual consumer? What Chubby's is going to do is going to be completely different than what a Tiffany's is going to do. Like, those two brands won't align. And so even starting simple, like email acquisition, like Tiffany's should never have a Wheel of Fortune pop up on their website. Like, you would never walk in to their store in New York City and be like, here's the prize wheel, will you win a new bracelet? Like, doesn't make sense for their brand voice. Chubby's or Shoe Carnival, like, those make sense. Wheel of Fortune, like, and that's where you can start having fun with it. And like, Tiffany's is obviously, with the luxury brands, you're going to kind of work through that brand voice, that creative, the aesthetic, and that's going to set up your entire journey. And so as Kamal's like working through her customer journey, like, what story are they trying to tell as they go through that? And I think that's so important as we go back and we reflect on what emails we're setting up, how often we're sending. We also have to be mindful of just like quick little tidbits. We know TikTok, which is apparently now a swear word in the United States, as who knows what they're doing here. But that format of TikTok creation is quick snippets, right? So like tweets, social media posts, that's what people want to see in email. So you can spend all day creating this beautiful email with, 20 different products, but like people don't have the attention span for that. So like allow them to control that journey, have fun with it, and don't overwork yourself. Like those, I think, are the key places I would start.
Excellent advice, everyone. Thank you so much to the three of you for coming and joining us for this webinar. Those of you watching live, you've run out of time to ask questions, but I'm guessing you've just been so impressed by the questions and the answers we've been getting, you haven't felt the need. So thank you so much for joining us live. For everyone watching the replay, I hope you've got what you wanted to out of this. We're going to say goodbye to Gabe, Komal and Kerri now. So thank you all for being part of this team. And if I can get the mouse in the right place, I can actually take you off screen as well, which is, you can relax now. So huge thanks to Gabe, Komal and Kerri for being a part of today's session. The only thing left for me to do is to let you know that next week we are starting our new series. April is all about SEO. So yeah, 2 weeks running of maximum ROI activity for your e-commerce marketing. Sorry, 2 months running even of maximum ROI for your marketing. We are going to be kicking off with a brilliant dive into the Zero Waste 101 of content marketing with Chrissy Clare. So we're getting into how making your content more sustainable, so really lowering its carbon impact, also improves your SEO. Brilliant session, lots of great tips in that one. We are going to be talking website migration, that tricky beast of an SEO project, with Montserrat as well. Then we've got Rob Stanbury from our sponsors of the month, Spec, coming up to discuss, should you do process-driven SEO or should you do clever outside-the-box SEO? Which will win? You will have to listen to find out. A sneak preview, though, spoiler alert, it depends, is going to be said multiple times in that episode, but you'll still learn a lot. And then our final session is going to be diving into SEO audits. And Sylvia Martin's going to be taking us through the 3 must-do e-commerce SEO audits, which is going to get your SEO work flying. And the SEO for that, you'll be able to sign the webinar for that, you will be able to sign up to from tomorrow. So thanks everyone for tuning into this webinar. For those of you watching the replay, thank you for joining us as well. And we will see you next month for SEO. Bye, everybody.